Alright, so this is what I have so far. I have my high-res block, I have my low-res screws, I have fence high-res, rebar high-res, rebar low-res, screws high-res, and steel plate. And now, this. We gotta take and duplicate the high-res, Shift D once, right click so it goes right back into place, and rename it low res, LR. Okay, now hide the high res one. Now it is probably pretty smart to stop and look at how many levels there are. There's 6. Don't ever do it from 6. It would never work. So the lower the better, I found out with producing your lower res. If you do it from maybe this step right here, it'll work out just as well as if you did it from a higher version. So I'm going to hit apply to this, and that's going to make it so now it is always going to be that way until I decimate it. So Decimate's a plugin for Blender that allows you to rip it down to triangles, and that's essentially what goes into the game engine anyway. Okay, so what I'm going to do is start my process of lowering this down. And here's what I found out. If you start real low, like let's say 0.1, it'll take a couple seconds to actually figure out what 0.1 means. And in some cases you get these jettison pieces off of it. See, like this right here. Hold on. Turn this to Maya. So you get these pieces that just flying off. If we hide everything, you'll find that that's probably from the top of this thing. Okay. Which it doesn't really matter because that whole top of the part thing is, I can get rid of that altogether. So I'm not really worried about it. So now I'm down to 22,000 polys. I still need more. And trust me when I say, if you slightly bump this the wrong way, it is really bad. So I'm going to put it at 0.01. And 0.01 is 2,100 or 2,200. So I'm just going to go to wireframe here and see what that looks like. That's not really awful bad. That's pretty good. And notice it's keeping all the detail in the areas it needs to have detail in. I do like to get greedy though, so I'm going to go a little lower. So in this case, it would be 0.009 or 0.008. As soon as it lets you. There we go. 0.007. Ooh, yeah, there we go. 1,500 polys. It's not too bad. I don't like the top part, but that's okay. Bottom part's good to go, like that. Alright, now that I have that, I'm going to hit apply, and that's going to take a second. Then I could just clean it up a little bit. So this top part right here, that's not going to fly at all. I can just go like this and hit L. It's not even glued on. See, it's just a separate part altogether. So I will delete that. And that means I can get rid of my steel plate. Well, I'll keep that and I'll map a good texture to it. I'll put it way down into the mesh, that way it's not conceived to be a little rusty or a little damaged in any way. Good. Well, now our mission is to get all the low res visible and do some UVs. So all these items right here need UVs. And I see a couple of these floating pieces of rebar out here, and that makes me wonder what happened there. So I'm going to go and turn on my high res piece and see that my low res piece got moved just a little bit, which is no big deal. I can just move that back. I'm just looking at what zero. Nope. There we go. So now it's laying on top of it. It has to lay on top of it pretty close. So now I'm taking all my low res items here and getting them visible. Because in the next video, what we have to do is UVs on all these items. So let's prep up the work. Let's go split area. And let's go into UV image editor. I right clicked on the area up here to go to split area. And if any time that you want to collapse area, you just right click on it and say join areas, and you can point the arrow to wherever you want to join. Okay. Now UVs on this, I'm going to aim for the corner pieces. Okay, so that way when it does unfold, it unfolds very nicely. It's not ever going to represent the true shape though. Doesn't have to. I'm going to be baking in the details from the high res. In this workflow, it's not necessary to have a perfect one-to-one match when it comes to your UVs to your object, like in normal workflows I do. So I'm just going to mark seam. Just gonna triangles and hard edges. I always try to like aim for the outside edge. I try to leave the seam out of the middle at all costs. This makes it pretty easy for the seam. I would say if I was to do this via traditional ways of UVing, it would be downright impossible. You'd have to pelt map this or UVW unwrap it, which is about the same thing. Just fancy term for people like pelt mapping. It's actually UVW calculations, but mark seam, there we go. So that's what I got so far. Now I just need one more part of the mesh. So let's see what, I'll probably put this at the bottom here. Just Just holding shift and going away at it. Okay, for this part I'm just going to hit L, U, unwrap. See what happens. Okay, so it's pretty horrible. I won't lie. It's bad. It's missing something. So in most cases, you know, it could be one little edge in here that didn't connect to the previous edge. So you got to be very, very, very good about tracking your edges. In some cases you can go over here and kind of get an idea of what's going on too. So you can see here in this area it went really good all the way up until right here. Then you can turn on this, then you can go in here and hunt that down and mark seam. Then just A, U, unwrap, and see if that unwraps. And there we go. It unwrapped rather nicely. Okay, if I want that gone or just hid, I can go like this, H, Control C, but I want to hide just this part, so I'll highlight it for your face and hit H. And then I can go in here to these parts, or I can just altogether hide it this way. To make it show, you can go Object, Show Hide, Show Hidden. Okay? And that'll show everything. I'm done with the low res. I don't need the high res. I just need the rebar low res. These are very easy to do. These can be done in edit mode. They require 1 or 2 clicks of Shift Alt, right click. So to put the seam in. Now if you want to put the seam in the back of these things, that would be smart. Okay, mark seam. A, U, unwrap. And they should all unwrap. Good. Okay, last but not least, we have to do the screws low res, which is about the same thing. In this case, I just do one of these. I do Shift and Alt, then uncheck that one, and go all the way around, and leave it connected right here. Mark seam. A, U, unwrap. Okay, that's what I get for that one. And I need steel plate. Steel plate's really easy. I'm just going to cut it here. here, here, and here. And mark scene. Okay, now that I have all these parts that are all done with the UVs, I have to get them all into one UV set. Okay, again, that's pretty easy also. All I do is have to duplicate this one over, and then in the next video I'll show you how to do that.